I have seen all kind of posters being put up on my behalf by different human beings, friends, and I'm sure even my enemies. Oh, Dele for this, oh, Dele for that. And I was thinking to myself, there's no point talking about this issue, leave it until later, but I can't leave it until later. Let's deal with it now because it dovetails into what I want to discuss with you all. I don't want to be your president. I'm not interested in becoming a governor either. I want to birth a country. Yeah. I want to birth a Nigeria that my children and your children would be proud of. That is what interests me. As president of this Nigeria, can't do jack. There's nothing I can do to change this Nigeria. As governor of any state in this Nigeria, maybe I might be able to start the process, but I really can't do anything and it does not interest me. What interests me is much bigger. I want to birth a Nigerian nation, one that my children and your children will be proud to live in. It is not beyond our capacities if we will take ownership of what we have. I know you would argue that you're better off in your utopian republics. No problem, but hear me out. For you to peaceably go into your utopian republics that you believe you can own, since you cannot own Nigeria, you would have to, first of all, own this Nigeria with us. And then we can all sit down as a collective after we have taken ownership of this one. If we don't take ownership of this one, it is next to impossible for you to gain the one that you want. Let the victims of this Nigeria who have despised this Nigeria, because Nigeria is functionally not owned by the victims of Nigeria. It is owned by the ruining class and those who benefit from the stupidity and madness of that ruining class. I have no interest in joining them. See, you humbled me when I went to prison in Ekiti. I came back understanding that it is in our collective that we can be effective. If you hadn't risen up in the manner that you rose up, I would have rotted in that place for as long as the powers who sent me there would care. It was you speaking that got them to move. You. It was you. It took you speaking as a collective. So why should it be so difficult for us to come together as a collective? That is what interests me. I don't want to be your president. I want to see a country where your vote counts. Do you understand? I want to see a country where the rulers or the managers of the country are appointed by you and fired by you. I want to see a country where you can go to the court confident that you will get justice. I want to see a country where our education curriculum makes sense because of our environment. I want to see a country where we are graduating people who can contribute positively to our society. That is what I want to see. I'm not interested in becoming a governor, a senator, House of Rep, and I don't want any office. If I come to you to begin to beg you to make me this or make me that, it makes me a partisan hack. Would I stand behind candidates? You betcha. Would I be part and parcel of some political party? Clap for yourself. I will. I assure you, I'm not becoming apolitical, but I am not interested in political office. I am interested in seeing a country that works for all of us. Whatever your ideology, your religion, your ethnicity, it does not concern me. For as long as we are all here together, we must become the people. We must become the owners of Nigeria. Look, let me assure you, greatness is born of delusions. And genius is the price that you attain when you learn to manage your insanity. You need to be delusional to achieve greatness. It's easy to talk about Alexander the Great, governing almost, conquering almost the whole world, the one they knew. But the question is this: was that a sane thought when he was born in what is it Macedonia or Greece? But Europe certainly. Was it? It was insane. There is nothing about our objective reality that suggests that it makes sense to imagine that Nigeria can be battered. But the reality is that we have to birth it. And if you don't realize how urgent it is, look to the age of Trump. Look at what is happening all around us. If we are not to become victims for the whole world, if we are not to become as vagabonds, let us be clear. It is time we, the victims of Nigeria, become the owners of Nigeria. Nigeria is an orphan because you have killed yourselves to it. You believe rightly that it is the beginning and end of your troubles. Okay. But let's look at it objectively. How do you untie this Gordian knot without shedding blood? And exactly who would you be fighting? For yourselves. The gangbanger riding around the other neighborhood looking for yourselves to shoot. Dying and fighting every day in the armies of your oppressor. At what point do you come to the knowledge of the fact that you are partly or mostly to blame for what is happening or has happened to you? Nigeria was not found on citizenship. It was found on ethnicity. It was found on religiosity. If it was found on citizenship, there would never have been the need for the insistence of the southern minorities on the Bill of Rights, which came out of the Willings Commission of 1957, I believe. It was because of their fears that Nigeria was inequitable. That inequitable Nigeria, whose inequities were partly ameliorated by the adoption of federalism in 1954, is more or less the one that's been killed. That Nigeria that ameliorated those fears. Today, you have a unitary system. In fact, that's an abuse of the English language. You have a feudalized system that has stripped each and every one of us of our citizenship by the destruction of the judicial system, which has assured that the law does not rule in our country. So we have become as victims in our own country, but we are largely to blame for our victimization. As I said in opening, ohun tó dilẹ̀, òun lewúrẹ́ ń gbé. When you abandon your goods, it becomes food for the goats. The goats, and I mean this literally and figuratively, the goats ruling Nigeria today have found space to rule because we have been even stupider than the goats. We abandoned what is ours. And today, we are not oppressed by the white men. It is our own who have enslaved us. And for those of you who will say it's the Fulani, or it's the Yoruba, or it's the Igbo, who rules in your state? If you are from Ala Igbo, when was the last time a Fulani man governed the land of the rising sun? My dear Yoruba brothers and sisters, when was the last time you had an Igbo governor in your state? My dear Northerners, when was the last time somebody came from outside of your state to govern you? And yet, since we started this democratic experiment, We've never had it so bad. But they point at the other person as the enemy. The owners of Nigeria are the victims of Nigeria, but they've been very careless owners. Remember that song from our childhood, Lost and Found, Careless Owner. Remember it? Yep. You lot have been most careless owners. You have not used your vessels unto honor, and you have taught your oppressors exactly how to deal with you. Find common cause. Identify your fellow victims. Stand behind these common causes. Remember the way you stood behind me just a few weeks ago? Stand behind those common causes. And a final word before I go, and this goes to the Nigerian police. You guys are going to have to decide whether you are policing a fascist state or a democracy. The manner in which you've just been picking people up and down the place for stupid reasons in a democracy. And then the other day, one guy, I think he speaks for the Nigerian police, is talking about Newton's third law. And I shook my head. The only thing I have to say to him is encapsulated in a Yoruba proverb. Omoba, Ijagun bí ẹrú. Change your tactics. Change your tactics. The Nigerian police can do with a better image.